Hey, Flock, about 30 seconds after we stopped recording this episode of What If, well, guess what? We heard about the Ken Walker injury news. That stinks. Then, like 5 minutes later, the COVID news drops about Drew Lock. So yeah, in this episode, we're talking about some things that, well, they're not going to matter for game 2. However, we do canvas quite a bit more than just those two dudes. So enjoy this episode of What If. Thank you so much, and go Hawks. Welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawks What If, the most unique Seahawks preview podcast in the multiverse. I am your host, Clinton Bonner. Oh man, I am fired up today because, hey listen, I'm not fired up because Brandon's not here. That's not why I'm fired up. But in lieu of Brandon, we have the Montana Seahawker himself, Mr. Adam Embert, joining us for What If, which is a whole nother multiverse of possibilities. Adam, what's going on today, dude?
I'll tell you what, I've been honored a few times in my life to do a few kind of prestigious things, but nothing like my first appearance on What If. I am fired up. I'm more fired up than you. How fired up off? I'm the ultimate fired upper right now. I love it. In this particular timeline, you're the most fired up. And of course, it would not be Seahawks What If without the man himself, the protector of the Seahawks multiverse, Mr. Phil Leidick. Mr. Phil, we are traversing into game 2 versus the Chicago Bears, a measly 5 days after game 1 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you got cooking for us today with the great themiology, and how you doing, dude?
Quick turnaround. I guess I'm fired up. I didn't expect Adam to be so fired up to be subbing in, but no Brandon. I've never done any podcasting in my entire life without Brandon Schultz. So this is a new venture for me. We're going to see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to both of you giving us some interesting and entertaining answers as we consider just what might happen in this second game of the preseason. Clinton, you having a good week? We enjoyed the show all by yourself. Was that your first ever 3 in 3 out solo, Han Solo, as you put it?
Yeah, no, the answer is no. So like I started doing 3 in 3 out as a blog post years ago. Yes. So those were kind of solo, but actually my first videos were just me. And these guys would put it out there, and then it became, hey, this show could use a co-host to bounce the ideas, and then Brandon took it over. So first one in probably 3 seasons to do solo. A little quicker, came out good. It was nice, got some compliments, but I certainly missed the banter and I like lobbing these things over and getting the reaction, because that's definitely half the fun. But Brandon will be back soon enough. But it was a good get. Thank you for enjoying it. And for the folks out there, we do want to remind you quickly, of course, hey, all of the shows are showing up on the Seahawkers podcast stream, right? So one stream, wherever you got ears, get the podcast, and of course out on YouTube. We're doing lots of live video. Adam's doing these shorts every couple of days that are fantastic, blowing up out there. And thank you also. Like, it's really growing like weeds, but in like a good kind of weed. But yeah, so anywhere you see it, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, all the audios, the likes, the subscribes, they all help. And the response has been great. So it just kind of feeds us. And maybe that's why Adam is so fired up. And with that, Mr. Phil, the hopper might be full. Let's just build a bigger hopper. We don't need to stop putting the coal or whatever it is into it. Let's build a bigger hopper, fill it up with more fuel, and give it to us, man. What are we talking about preseason week 2?
All right, we're going to get into our 26th episode of What If, the first time ever with Adam Embert, the Montana Seahawker himself. Glad about that. We're going to be playing the Bears, right? So, of course, got to go a bear route. I don't know if Adam knows. I know Brandon does. I spent some of my high school years in Montana in the Kalispell area. I did a camping trip up on the North Fork with another young guy. We went and just a lake. You go to a lake, then you hike up and go to another lake, hike up to another lake. And we kind of camped out by the lake there, left a pack of bacon out. Probably wasn't real bright. Left our wallet out. Not a great idea. It was about 1 or 2 in the morning. We hear something loud and grumpy, and it starts making some loud racket. Then the nose comes up the tent. We're there gripping what potential protective equipment we had, but thinking our best bet's just to not make any noise. This is wild. The bear actually started circling loud, round and round, making all kinds of gruff racket. We're thinking, oh boy, I wish you would just take the bacon and leave. We were pretty terrified. We kind of figured this is it. We're going out into the next life at this point. Finally, it was gone, and we just wanted to hustle back down the mountain. I dead serious when I say this. The bacon wasn't touched. My wallet was destroyed, and he was honestly, this is going to sound funny. He was just getting his camper feed. My $20 bill inside was gone. Must have had some good salt to it. That was it. So that's my bear story. I imagine Adam has more bear stories. He's lived in Montana more than me. And I don't know. Do you have a lot of bear up there in Clinton, out there in the New England area?
It's a very rare bear. And really, I'm on the coast, so we don't got bears down here. We got coyotes, we got foxes, we got plenty of deer and all that jazz. I have never, besides a zoo, which is probably sad, I've never seen a bear in my life.
Okay. Well, everybody has a bear story, or they've heard a bear story, maybe. So, but what if this Bears game tells a story? And there was a lot of potential topics when you're thinking about bears: bear paws, bear food, can't bear it, bear skin, sleeping bear, teddy bears, big bears, bare naked truth, maybe grin and bear it, bear hunts, polar bears. We didn't go with those. We're going to talk about things being unbearable. And then I know Brandon would have loved this one. I don't know where you guys are, but gummy bears. And obviously the guy that I have next to me on the show, DK Metcalf, his picture right next to me, he's all about the gummy bears. And then what if we can find the Goldilocks zone? Goldilocks and the three bears. If you don't know about the Goldilocks zone, we'll learn about that in our final category here. But Clinton's first. This is an even numbered episode. What if the Hawks play is unbearable? What if the Hawks play is unbearable? As far as improvements go, is there an area where if the Hawks don't show us some improvement the next couple games here from the first game, watching them is going to make an unbearable season? They've got to show improvement in these areas. Clinton, what do you got for us? What would make it unbearable?
Yeah, so it's nice to go first, but I won't take the chalk answer. Maybe Adam will. We'll see. It's okay. It's okay if you do. That's nothing wrong with that. But I'll leave it there for you, especially after game one. Right? I'm just leaving the breadcrumbs, if you will, Goldilocks style there. Or is that Hansel and Gretel? I'm getting my stories confused with that.
I think you've confused them.
Yeah, I think I'm confused. That's okay. These things happen. It will not be the last time. However, where I'm going is I thought the up the gut pressure looked good. We talked to Miles Adam last game. We talked a couple of things of certainly the edges looked really good. I didn't think we looked that great against the run. They didn't do it that much. And again, we did have Puna. I made a mistake on 3 and 3. We had Puna. We didn't have all firearms, right? There was no Big Al there. With that, I thought we got pushed around a little bit in run defense. I thought Pittsburgh did a pretty good job of moving us kind of the way we move them. So if the Bears, who are probably going to run the ball quite a bit, they're going to get it's kind of cool. We'll see Justin Fields. So again, we'll see another starter, which doesn't happen that often in the preseason, but our preseason is all about these starters. We'll see plenty of Justin Fields. But if, Khalil Herbert's going off, and I don't think Montgomery's going to play, but the other Bears running backs and they're getting push against us, that'll be a little unbearable for me. I didn't love the run defense that I saw right in the guards and tackle position. And as we're playing this newfangled defense, it wasn't exactly like a 3-4 last game. It looked like a lot of 4-2. Would it be 4-2-4, right? Would that be the math at 4-2-5? But it wasn't exactly like a base 3-4 we saw a lot of. So if we're getting pushed off the ball, up the gut again, I'm going to start to be like, is there a problem here? Or is it simply just our big guys are not playing in the preseason? Don't sweat it. I'm not sure, but I don't like getting run on. That's all.
Adam, what do you got? What would make the season unbearable if we don't improve?
Oh boy, there's a lot of different ways to go. And Clinton didn't take the low hanging fruit. So maybe that's the one to go with, which is just simply tackling. I mean, the tackling was an absolute joke show out there.
Terrible.
Now, I didn't really want to go with that because we have seen this team struggle in tackling early on for the first couple games of the season, multiple years over the Pete Carroll era, and they always seem to get it figured out and they become a good tackling team. So that one doesn't worry me quite so much. As far as the run defense goes that Clinton brought up, one of the things that doesn't worry me about that is we're not seeing Jordan Brooks out there. We're not seeing Jamal Adams out there in run support, or even Quandre, right? So there's a lot of those key guys that are not necessarily right in the front seven. We're talking about the safeties, but they're a big part of that run defense too. Also, it always takes Pete Carroll's teams a game or two to get the run fit all figured out. We've heard that a million times over the years, like, oh my gosh, we just, we need to work on our run fits a little bit, but we'll get there. Guys are trying to do too much, blah, 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 blah. So I think they'll get through that too. So for me, the one thing that would be just catfishing unbearable would be more 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 15 give up plays. If I see another catfish and give up play on that kind of down and distance, a bubble, a draw, something like that, especially when we're close to midfield, I don't know what I'm going to do. I honestly don't. But violence feels like it is in the equation. Like that bubble screen on 3rd and 11 that they had Locke throw when they were near midfield had me pulling my hair out. That drives me insane when the team does that. And it would be personally unbearable to me if they continue with that. And they probably will.
Well, yeah. I mean, now we're wishing for something that may or may never happen, is for Shane Waldron to change his stripes. Maybe he will. Yeah.
Does that feel like a Shane thing, though? Is that a Shane thing or a Pete thing? That feels like a Pete thing.
I don't know. Shane's the OC. I talked about this
specifically. Sure, and so was Shoddy, and so was you go down the list, right? Bevel, and they all ran it.
Shane's old boss can pull it off somehow. I don't know what the discipline issue is.
I don't think we have the right personnel to be running screens right now until we do.
And that's what you were bringing up. Yeah.
Well, that and just do something else if you want 6-7 yards.
Penny, Eskridge, maybe one of them could do it. Yeah.
Give me one route that crosses the first down marker. Give me one. I'll take it.
Has anybody ever thought about this? It's 3rd and long. We're in the midfield. If you throw it long, what can happen? Hey, maybe you complete it. Maybe you get a pass interference. Maybe they pick it off where you were going to punt it to anyways.
Yeah, the old Flacco arm punt. Yeah.
Can anything bad happen when you bomb it down to the 10? Really? I mean, I don't know if it's 3rd and long. Is anything bad going to happen?
Not really.
I think it's okay.
That's just a question. Okay. That could be unbearable. I'm with you, Adam. Adam, you get the second question on things being unbearable. What's the most unbearable thing that your starting quarterback can do in a game? You could say in a game, or, this is what they typically do throughout a season. What's the most unbearable thing your starting quarterback can do?
Woo, there's a litany list that you could go through here, right? And
I said most, so, whatever. That's your interpretation of most.
There were certain things during the Russ era that drove me insane, right? Like just the incessant holding of the ball, looking for kill shots, just stuff like that, not staying in clean pockets and stepping up, not being able to hit the receiver over the middle. I mean, screen passes were impossible. But I guess with these two quarterbacks, I think the most unbearable thing that I could see this year would be massive inconsistency on 3rd down. Please be able to move the chains and keep the time of possession closer to balance this year. Last year was just out of control. So whether it's Gino or Drew, be consistent on 3rd downs. And that can be getting to the right check in the run game. That can be knowing when to check it down, knowing when to go for a big shot, but just be consistent at it and get us, when it's 3rd and 5 and less, make sure those get converted.
Yeah, I love that. And to leap off that real quick, I think that these two quarterbacks will be stronger at it because they won't go for the kill shots outside the hash marks, right? It'll just, hey, it's 3rd and 3. Cool. Let's run that, non-high probability fade 27 yards downfield. It's like, why are we taking that shot over and over and over again?
Red line pass on double coverage, 25 yards down.
Just the all nines go route. Like, why? Where where are the mesh concepts? Where are the crosses? Right? Just get it over the middle, which I think we'll see with either quarterback. For me, the most unbearable thing, I think we saw a little bit of it last week, is simply, Adam, you hinted at it in when you were rambling up there, or like ramping up, I should say, was around the idea of like giving up on pockets that are actually good. I think we saw some of that in the last game. Now, again, wasn't getting the all 22, so I couldn't tell specifically on the one where Gino kind of sits back there for a day and a half, and the team has a beautiful little umbrella around him, a little force field. It just doesn't kind of go anywhere with it. I'm not sure if he just didn't take it. And again, I can't specifically say on that particular play he made the right call, but I hate seeing a QB bail early when the protection's actually warranting you to trust it. So I know it's early. I know we got rookies, but the eye test with Phil Haynes, not a rookie, but with Lucas, with Cross, with Curran playing well, the eye test said last game, hey, offensive line did a pretty good job. The PFF grades proved it out. Don't bail on your offensive line. Trust them that they got you. Stand in there and deliver the friggin' ball. That is unbearable to me. I hate that.
Great answers. Absolutely agree. All right, we go to the next category. Go to the next category. This will start off with Clinton. And this is a stretch, but we're talking about stretchy items here. What if this game can give us some gummy bears? And of course, DK would agree we need to have gummy bears involved. Tasty, colorful moments of fun, goodness, and joy. A sugar buzz of fan flavor. Just this game giving us some gummy bears. You may know the song. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere, right? So sure. I'm sure everybody wanted to hear me sing. What are some potentially really fun moments that you're hoping to see during this Thursday night game? I think it's our one preseason home game. Just some, you could throw a few out there, maybe something specific, but some fun moments you're looking forward to see happen. Clinton?
I want to see, I hope one of them is healthy. I want to see D. Eskridge or Marquise Goodwin, and I want to see how it changes the offense, because I believe it does, that the quickness does. That's the first one. I will give a quick second answer to also. Still going to stay on the offensive side of the ball. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of deep shots. Like we saw Locke try one over the middle kind of late, the one he sailed over the head. We saw Locke with I'd say the intermediate, beautiful pass to Parkinson that he should have caught. Best pass of the game. Fant should have kept his feet in bounds on the that long post he was running. Gino put the ball nicely there as well. But they weren't the deep shot. And if Locke gets an opportunity, and that's why also I want Goodwin out there. Like I want some burner out there because I'm not sure the other guy, or Bo Melton. Let's see Bo Melton turn it up, right? Or Tyreek Young. He's got speed too, but I want to see a shot or two, 35 plus yards downfield. And if it's going to be a true gummy bear, it's got to connect. It's got to connect and hit and be like, dude, he can do it. That's what I want to see.
How about you, Adam? Some fun gummy bear moments. What are you looking for?
Well, gummy bears being a sugary treat, it's tough to go defense, that's for sure. So I'm going to stick on offense as well. And they kind of go hand in glove. It's two things that go hand in glove. I want to see a Rashad Penny, or more specifically, a Ken Walker, just amazing run. Like jukes, cuts, getting through traffic, and just busting a huge one. And that goes hand in glove with the second thing that would be the icing on the cake, the ultimate sugary treat. And that would be some pancakes from Abe Lucas and Charles Cross, the guys drafted that can't run block. I want to see them mow down some Chicago Bears and make some bear pancakes. That's what I want to see.
That sounds fun. Okay, so how about this? I'm going to really stretch it since we're talking about stretchy candy here. Adam, which players, we're talking about guys on the bubble. I know you can't blow bubbles with gummy bears, but which players need to pop some tasty moments if they hope to sniff our 53? They need to stretch, bounce, pop on our screens. They need to do some cool stuff and jump out at us, so to speak, if they've got a chance at cracking the 53. Who do you got, Adam?
Well, we've talked a lot of offense here, so let's stick on the defense side of the ball for a second. And one of the guys I would have mentioned was Ugo Amadi. And boy, that was a bizarre trade that we'll cover later on the flagship podcast here later in the week. But so since Ugo's gone, I have to say Marquise Blair. This guy needs to show us something. He was out on the field this last game, but what did he do? Can you name one play? A guy that was a second-round draft pick, a guy they had such high hopes for, the guy that Pete kind of went out and said, this could be the next Bam Bam, right? The guy that brings that attitude, the swag, that sort of thing. And with two all-pro safeties ahead of him, he's got to make some plays to make sure he makes this roster, because I think they feel pretty comfortable with Justin Coleman in the nickel. And that means that he's not going to be playing a lot in the slot like he did before he got injured this last year. So I'd say Marquise Blair one. And then second, I think it needs to be the rookie corners, not so much that they're on the bubble. I guess that's probably, that doesn't quite fit. So I just thought that was a pretty disappointing showing compared to the amount of hype that we had heard all throughout the mock game and, weeks prior. Other guys on the bubble, I think Bo Melton's going to need to have to show more.
That's a good one.
He had the one big play, but he also had a big drop early in the game on Gino as well. So he's going to need to show some consistency there.
How about you, Clinton? Some guys that need some tasty moments here in this Thursday game.
So the guy who took number 50, right? We're like, 50's KJ Wright, dude. What are you doing? But he goes by the name of Vi Jones. So if you remember the play right by the goal line, he does this little stutter step right from the linebacking position, and then he just breaks through. Not even breaks through, kind of sneaks through. Very, 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 very underestimating the sneakiness, I believe. And he just drags Pickett down by the arm, and he tackled him at like the 1 yard line, right? So Vi Jones is a UDFA who he seems to kind of have it. And if you're gonna make the inroad for UDFA this year, to me, like the linebacking core between injuries with dudes we had last year, like Radigan and BBK, that are just BBK's not going to be back, Radigan not back for a bit, and then we lose Bobby. KJ hasn't been here for 2 years. Jordan Brooks is not going to play in the preseason much at all. And Cody Barton's going to play. And Cody Barton looked okay. I think Cody Barton's good. And Vi Jones stood out. So, hey, if there's a next man up and there's an opportunity and it's like he's gonna get a lot of time out there, then heck, young man, take the opportunity and shine. Vi Jones did a nice job in the Steelers game. I'd love to see a little bit more stretching that gummy, be like, wow, dude, this guy's going from bubble to like he's gonna make this team. So Vi Jones is the guy, number 50.
Yeah, I thought Cody Barton was maybe good, and then I watched that last game, and the guy just gets washed all the time. Did you ever see him? You ever see him take out a blocker? I mean, I know he's supposed to be good in coverage, being a former safety and all, but I was pretty disappointed. I'm a little concerned. Maybe he won't be out there all the time with the way we're going to switch up some of the formations, but this isn't the question. But were you impressed with him, Adam? What did you think of Barton?
The thing that least impressed me about Barton was early in the game, they gave up the big run and he commits a personal foul out of bounds and gives them another 15. That's the type of stuff that drives me back. Catfish! Like, you've already given up a big play. Like, don't compound it with that. But you're right that he wasn't able to really slash through the hole and find the back really easily in this game. But in games past, he's had a really nice ability to do that. Okay. So I'm more willing to say that this was the aberration and not the norm. The guy that I would like to ask the two of you about is the big offseason acquisition, Nwosu. What happened there? What did you guys see? Because I have one takeaway. I'm curious if it's any different for you guys.
My quick assessment was, I was like, okay, who's number 10? And I was like, oh, that's Nwosu, right? Got to remind myself. And not much else. I didn't see much there yet. And I was a little dismayed because I was the one hooting and hollering when we got him. I was like, oh man, down the stretch last year, the Chargers were on national TV all the time because every game was A, a Justin Herbert show, and B, they were in it to the last overtime, right? Until the Raiders kicked him out. So I saw a lot of Nwosu. So I was underwhelmed with this first bit of action, but much like you said about Cody showed it last year. The last 4 or 5 games, he showed out. He played well. I saw Nwosu do it on the Chargers, and I think we're a better defense. In fact, I know we are better than that Chargers team. So I'm going to give the pass, but my first impression was like, that was it.
Yeah, Nwosu played 18 snaps at linebacker. You'd think you'd see a little more, considering other guys that played 18 snaps showed up quite a bit more. I would have thought he was only out there for like a possession, considering how he just never popped. I really expected some flashes. Maybe he just was acting like it was a preseason game and just working on formation, not really throwing himself out there. I don't know.
Well, what about you, Adam?
I had the same exact initial impression as you guys. I was just like, where is this guy? Like, who is 10? Is that no? Mayo is gone. Who is 10 again? Oh, Nwosu. Right. Okay. How come he's not doing more? And went back and I watched this game 2-3 times, and it turned out on most of the pass plays when he was rushing, and they brought him pretty much every single pass play, they were doubling him. He was soaking up that extra blocker. And so that gave me personally a lot more. It buoyed me. Like I thought good. It was a poor showing until I went back and watched it, short of he helped blow up. I think it was like a pitchback, kind of a reverse pitchback, and he blew that up in the backfield, but then missed the tackle, and then they were able to turn it into like 8 yards or something like that. But hopefully his presence out there actually frees up some of the other guys like Mafe and Taylor and all that stuff. So, not as bad as I initially feared.
Well, I think the quick good news is during the regular season, he is likely not the dude getting doubled. He's not the guy like, throw a tight end on him. So he's the guy who has to contribute when, let's say, halfway through the year, Mafe is getting doubled because he's approaching 8 sacks because the guy did what he did, which is nice.
Good. Yeah, Marquise played 36, and you mentioned him earlier. 36 snaps, and you'd think a safety would do something. But let's keep moving. What if we can find the Goldilocks zone? Last category here, the Goldilocks zone. You guys both familiar with the Goldilocks zone?
I am an astrophysicist fan and astronomy, so I know all about the Goldilocks zone. So.
Yeah, that's where you want to be. I actually almost organized the whole show around the three bears and then backed off from that. But yeah, the Goldilocks zone is that place where it's just right? It's not too hot, not too cold. Earth finds herself there within the solar system in the Goldilocks zone, a very, 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 very rare place for a planet to find itself. And so what if we can find the Goldilocks zone here in this game? Is there, Clinton, is there a Goldilocks zone for some of the starters regarding playing time? Game 2, but, we're a 3-game preseason, so it's kind of like what used to be game 3 of the preseason, don't you think? Like there's one game left. If we're going to see some starters, like how much would you look to see some of the big starters play, if at all, for this game, Clinton? Would it be about right, do you think? Maybe some of the receivers, some of the linemen. What do you got on that?
Yeah, I don't expect the best receivers, DK and Tyler. I don't think they're going to play. We'll see if they play at all. So the defenseman Taylor and such, like the big guys, a quarter is plenty. Some of the safeties I don't need to see Jamal out there. Obviously Diggs is still recovering and all that. I don't need to see those guys out there. I know what they can do, but I think if this game lands in that real sweet spot Goldilocks zone, now I'll go to the chalk answer because we haven't talked about him a lot. I did not mention the guy really one time on 3 in 3 out. This is all about Drew Lock, man. This is all about Drew Lock.
I do have a quarterback. Yeah, I do have a quarterback question about the Goldilocks zone here in just a second.
Well, then I'll keep my answer short there and say it's all about the QB for this Goldilocks zone. If we settle in and go, yep, he's the number one. By the way, he got started first string today at practice. Do you guys see that from Greg Bell?
I'm guessing by your asking that it was Drew.
Drew Lock was with team. He was QB1 today for the first time at practice. So I'll stop there because I don't want to. You got another question lined up, but it's all about the QB, man.
Adam, what about Penny or Lockett or DK? Do you want those guys all to be sitting down, or do you think they should get just a little bit of a tune-up?
Dang, you just get out of my head, Phil. You crawled right in there because the first name that popped up for me was Rashad Penny. I mean, this guy is in legit danger of losing his job. And I know that seems like hyperbole after seeing Ken Walker and just one preseason game and all that.
Yeah.
That dude's got legit wiggle. He's got legit power and legit speed, good hands, was good in pass protection. Penny's got to show up, and he's got to show that he can get past injury a lot quicker than he has early in his career, much like he did those last 5 games. He has to be on the field for this game. If not, I'd say the Goldilocks zone for him is 5 to 10 carries. He has to get 5 to 10 carries in this game, in my opinion.
Wow. I would just quickly say I would care less if Penny touched the ball in this game. It's like, get him healthy. He showed what he can do. And for me, it's like Ken Walker is still this is going to be a 60-40 backfield one way or the other, 65-35, but probably 60-40. And if Walker could keep doing what he's doing, impressing Carroll with being a potential 3-down back, well, guess what? Walker's going to get those touches on 3rd down too, as opposed to Travis Homer. So it's a more dynamic player. So I guess I just don't care if Penny plays 1 iota. I just expect it to be pretty close to 50-50 come game 1 anyway, or charging towards 50-50 by like week 3, week 4. I would just like to see Penny just get healthy, even if he doesn't play, man. I don't know.
All right. Second question, Adam. This does point right at the quarterbacks. And I will say, I keep feeling like I'm a Geno defender because the Drew fans are intense. You try to find some balance with the Geno. I don't feel like either of these quarterbacks are necessarily going to help us make the difference. My concern about Drew is that he could actually lose games. My concern about Geno is he can't help us win any games. I do see that Drew has more arm talent. I see that there's more he can do with his arm. I just struggle with some of his decisions. Broadcasting, he lets everybody on the field know where he's looking. And a lot of times I'm just wondering why he's not making better choices at the line, some things like that. I don't know. Maybe that stuff can be coached out. But anyways, that's my own opinion. I even saw on the internet where people were, this is crazy. It sounds crazy, but they were accusing people of being racist because they were for Geno instead of Drew. Opposite, like the opposite kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, Pete just, Pete, I'm like, dude's had white quarterbacks before. So that's not what it is.
Good Lord.
That's just an expression of how kooky some of the defenders are. Like you can't say anything otherwise. And so the balance gets off. But what would be the Goldilocks zone for the quarterback competition? I think Drew does need a fair shot, at least for me, but drives, passes. Does he need some time with the starters, show what he can do with some of the better receivers? Would it be just right so you can see what you need from the quarterback competition to be able to make a solid choice? Starting with you, Adam.
Yeah, so I'll double down on what I said earlier on YouTube today. Week 2, it's got to be Drew. And not just because it rhymes, but because it makes sense. So basically, you look back over the 2 times that these quarterbacks have seen live bullets with this team, the mock game and week 1. We've only seen week 1 with our own eyes, and we're going off reports in the mock game. From the reports, Drew looked better in the mock game. In week 1, I think it was beyond clear that Drew looked better in week 1 of the preseason. His pocket presence, I mean, he made so many throws with guys diving around his feet and things like that. Didn't get rattled. Like, he was far more decisive with the football. He also threw into tight windows way more often than Geno did and fit it in there perfectly. Geno, this is the thing about Geno. If he plays and he starts for us at the beginning of the year, I'm not one of those like fervent Drew guys that is like, oh my gosh, we've made a huge mistake and, blow up the team. I'm totally pissed. Look, if Geno goes out there and plays, that's fine. Because he went out there in this preseason game and he was fine. I mean, he didn't do anything dynamic. All the throws that he did make were pretty much just wide open, run-of-the-mill, schemed up things. He wasn't really in rhythm with the offense. Like that big over route to Noah Fant that he had 1 foot out of bounds. Geno gets that out of his hand a half a step earlier or has a little more zip on the ball. That's a big completion. So I think there's some massive limitations with Geno, and I was hoping to see it this last game that he had evolved, that this time where he had sat on the bench behind guys and learned and all that stuff that we hear and all that tremendous leadership and blah, 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 blah was going to like actually show itself in this week 1 game. And we were going to see this new and improved Geno that's going to seize the reins for QB1. Wasn't there. And some people are like, hey, look at that 2-minute drill. What a thing of beauty. Okay, that's fine. But what else did he do in the red zone? Diddly freaking poo. Drew Lock was great in the red zone. He was great at the line of scrimmage for the most part, except for one call. And I'm not totally convinced that that was his fault. They asked him in the presser, was that your fault, that line call? And he kind of smirks and he looks up. He's like, oh, well, I'm always going to be honest with you guys up here. That was totally on me. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then they asked Pete, hey, what was up with that line call? How come that happened? And then Pete, well, I don't know actually what the call was up there. I'm going to have to go back and look. Maybe the protection was shifted the right way. He goes on and on and on, meaning he didn't really know exactly who it was on either.
Or he doesn't want to throw anybody under the bus, right?
But that's what I think with Drew's answer. I think the biggest knock on Drew Lock was accuracy and leadership coming from Denver. And he has shown in these the mock game and week 1, his accuracy has improved. You talked about the decision-making. What decision-making as a Seahawk have you seen so far that makes you think he's the same guy in Denver? Because it looks very different to me. He looks like he's learned a lot from Teddy Two Gloves and is playing a lot more conservatively. Look, at the end of it, I think on the leadership aspect, Drew realized in that moment when he was asked that question, sure, he could say, yeah, the no-name left tackle that was out there was supposed to kick out, blah, 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 and run the bus right over him with both axles, or he could take one from the team, which Pete has made it clear over the years that they are always competing with what they say in the locker room, with what they do when they're at home on their homework, all of it. And I think that's the difference there. So I'm hoping for Drew, but he needs this half. Then we can evaluate his half versus Geno's half. Pick a guy, play him week 3 in the preseason, and then hit it against the Broncos.
The way he answered it in the press conference, no doubt about it, that was the only right answer. Anything else would have been a failure right there. I do think that some of the excitement for Drew is the devil we know and the devil we don't know. Yeah. Everybody knows what we have with Geno. I mean, we've seen it. And again, it was reconfirmed. He's just not awesome. There was nothing about it that showed, but I felt like Kenny Pickett was as good or better than anybody, or any of the Steelers quarterback looked as good as the guys that we had. Maybe I'm wrong.
Pickett played well. Like, he did well for himself. He did good. But go ahead. You said you like to see.
No, I'd like to see Drew against some real pass rushers. And how are we going to tell, unless he's in the first quarter, how are we going to know what he can do against real pass rushers? So go ahead, Clinton. What do you think's the Goldilocks zone for the quarterback competition, given the importance of these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, and I think both your comments set up what I want to, what I think would be crucial and really would hit that Goldilocks zone for the QB competition. What I don't want is it's 17-3, and then we get a 2-minute drill to make it 17-10. And at that point, we're already kind of facing second and third stringers, and we're seal clapping, crawling back into the game to make it 17-10. Was it a good drive? Yes, it's a good drive. Not taking away any of that. But we're down 17-3. Does the defense own some of that? Yes, we tackled like crap. We know this. If Drew gets a chance, what I want to see is that inverted. I want to see where, all right, the Bears got a ball with 1:10 left, and hopefully the defense shuts them out, and we go into the locker room and we're up 10 already. We set the tone. We're not trying to claw back in the game because Drew has gone out there and had it first half. That's like, no. We're gonna run this differently. And love Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's, again, Hall of Famer, is gonna be in the Ring of Honor, all that jazz. Great. There were so many times the first half was just a slog to get through. And we had to crawl back in with some late field goal or late touchdown just to get back in the game. And then, a lot of times we got stronger, ran the ball very well, and took the games over in the third and fourth quarter. Sure, that's Pete ball. We all know what Pete ball is. What if we invert that just a little bit, because the QB play is different? And I just think Geno is Jacoby Brissett ceiling, and that's not good enough. And I think Drew has a higher ceiling. If we're not going to win a lot of games this year, just go with the high ceiling guy and see if we can surprise to the upside. That's Drew Lock all day, man. That's
the positive way of saying, if we're not going to win a lot of games, let's just lose a lot of games, right?
See what we got.
Big ceiling, big floor with Drew, right? Maybe that's the most logic.
Can I offer a third path in the multiverse here for this season?
Okay, sure, Adam.
Because I heard you say this on last week's show, Phil, that it's either win a bunch of games, go to the playoffs, and look good, or just basically tank and get a good quarterback. Right? What if we go 7-8 wins with Drew Lock back there after he takes over for Geno, who doesn't look good, and Drew Lock comes in and looks awesome for 7, 8, 9 games, and the Broncos stink because they're in a very difficult division and already starting to get injured because the Let's Ride curse is taking a hold of that craptastic franchise. And we have that great draft pick. We have a middling season that nobody seems to want, but we have found our quarterback, and all of our rookies look good. And now we can go into this next draft armed with 2 firsts, 2 seconds, to add to that, and you don't have to trade it all to get a quarterback. What if, Phil? What if?
Yeah. I mean, there's that slight percentage of a path in the multiverse that we could find ourselves on that track. I didn't come up with the idea, Adam. I was just commenting back to the flagship show where Brandon had brought that up. This season can be 3 things. 2 are good. The worst is like we're mediocre, but don't get a good draft pick. And obviously the Broncos is another aspect of it. If they're a playoff team, they're not going to get us the quarterback pick we need. So maybe if Drew's good, then what do we have to do? We have to re-sign him. We can go draft some great pass rush and do some things like that. So there's a lot of options if that turns out. I just think that's so unlikely, but it would be cool. And we won't know if we don't give him a shot.
I think it's a 30% chance.
Really?
Chance.
Well, you've been saying that. You've been saying that all off season. I wanted to actually ask you, do you think now what you've seen, is that inching up a little bit yet? Is it still 30? Is it really just 3 out of 10? Or are you getting closer to 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10? Or do we get, or one more? Do we have to wait for game 2 to answer that?
Yeah. 36.4% chance. That's what we're up to.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, if he comes out there against the starting Bears pass rush, starting Bears corners, and moves down the field with some sweet throws, I mean, I'll be jumping on board as well. We do need to get to prediction time. What kind of score are we expecting from this one? We really undershot it last time. What kind of score are we expecting from this one preseason home game? Clinton, what do you think?
So quick shout out I want to give to Tim Moon on this, because he was pinging me on Facebook because of the PNW Prop Stars podcast, where we undershot that by a lot. And We're not going to be able to do one this week just because we're running out of runway for the games on Thursday. We're recording this on Tuesday, so there won't be one. However, Tim said he sends me a message. He goes, hey, he's like, I love the betting podcast. He goes, I think you're missing the point that there's going to be 4 starting quarterbacks. He's like, the over is the bet. I was like, Tim, you're a smart man. So that was really, really, and that was before the game. He goes, you got 4 starting quarterbacks. This is not going to be this is going to be high scoring. So with Fields getting lots of time out there, and then we got 2 guys who are starting caliber quarterbacks, albeit some maybe lower rung to middle rung. They're starting caliber. I'm going to pitch a little bit higher, and obviously defenses that are a little immature still, right? Bears especially. Going to pitch a little higher. Let's go with the 27-22 Seattle Seahawks victory.
They do need to wear the green jerseys for their tackling. I mean, the defenders, it's the only, that's the only color that makes sense as they're learning how to tackle. How about you, Adam? What do you got? What are you expecting for this preseason home game?
I'm not too far off from Clinton. The number that stuck in my head was 21-17 Hawks. I think that Fields will play a lot in the first half, but they're not going to play him the full first half. We all know Justin Fields is going to be the guy. And they'll play him enough in the third game as well that they don't need to run him around out there and have him take hits and all that sort of thing. I think that Drew's going to play a lot in the first half, and I think Geno is going to struggle a ton in the second half with the 3s and the 4s. I really think that the 1s and the 2s were making Geno look better, and Drew was making the 3s and the 4s look better because of his play. I don't think it was the other way around. And so I think in the second half, there's not going to be a lot of scoring. In the first half, there'll be a bit. And I think the defense is going to look a little better. I think those rookie corners are going to have a bounce back game. So we limited them to 17 points throughout this game.
All right. Anything else we need to say, Clinton?
Got nothing here. Just, hey, I was mad that it was, hey, we only got 5 days between a game. But now I'm like, we got a game on Thursday. So I'm fired up for that. So you take the bad, you turn it into the good. And we got a game in a couple of days, man. We'll be talking more Seahawks. Love it.
Good. Anything, Adam?
No, that as we've started this and we've started really, cranking this thing up, with Phil coming on and really like doing this consistently, and then Clinton really bringing up the flavor here for us and everything, like, this has been exciting. Like, this is year 10 for us going into this podcast, and I haven't been this fired up to do this for a long time. And it's a lot because of you guys. It's a lot because of all the little flockers and everybody else that has started watching and listening to the show. It's just, I feel reinvigorated. I'm like, a young Pete Carroll at this point, at 70 years old. It just feels awesome. And I just wanted to thank you guys, man. Like, the shot of new life that you brought into all this has been great.
Okay, well, go eat some gummy bears, guys. And what if we say go Hawks?
Go Hawks, brother.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.